are welcome to Improve Seats on your first agricultural television in the capital city of Nigeria, Abuja. I am your girl, Hilda Homsem Fantwam. And today, our agri analyst, a farmer, an expert in what he does, Mr. Lawal Olushola Lawal, is in the studio to discuss and enlighten us on how farmers can contribute to fight against climate change to achieve bumper harvests. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back where the discussion will continue. Stay tuned. All right, welcome to the program, Mr. Lawal.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for having me.
You're always here, and it's great having you here too.
It's always a pleasure being around.
The pleasure is always ours, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about how farmers can contribute to fight against climate change, you know. Yeah. So first of all, how does climate change affect our agriculture today, most especially in the seeds? Because I know it affects the seeds, affects the soil, affects almost everything, as long as we do not know the right climate that is needed for our planting.
So thank you for inviting me to discuss this very important topic.
Yes.
Climate change is a problem, is a global problem that affects all walks of life. Yeah. It affects our health, it affects the economy of the world. It affects security. It has impact on security because people lose their job because of the impact of climate change.
Sure.
And as a result, this causes insecurity. So it also affects our food system, agriculture, most especially.
Yes.
Because climate change is something that is in direct relation with the environment.
Sure.
And agriculture cannot exist without the environment.
Sure.
So agriculture is a profession that depends directly on the environment. So anything that want to tamper the environment will tamper agriculture directly, not indirectly, directly. So climate change have a direct impact on agriculture, and the impact can be seen in crop failure. Crop failure, and poor performance of crop, in also the incidence of pests, pest outbreak,
Yes.
so many other things, and even in post-harvest losses. Climate change have impact along all the value chain of agriculture. So which makes us to spend more. If care is not taken, we produce less per hectare, and we even lose more after production. So the impact comes from varying angle. You can look at it from the incidence of drought, which is one of the effects of climate change. And when this occur, farmers will not be able to produce. And when also drought occur, there will be crop failure. People will plant, and all of a sudden, irregular rain pattern will disrupt the plants on the field. And in most cases, if those crops don't die, they will be injured, that their production will not be balanced.
Yes.
And you find out that at the end of the day, on an acre, all things being equal, you've been producing like 10 tons on an hectare before. Hardly you find yourself going home at the end of the farming season with 5 tons. So because water have a direct impact on crop production.
Sure.
And anything that have impact on water will have direct impact on the crop. So, and also we have the incidence of pests, because the climate is becoming warmer. Our environment is becoming warmer, and we find out that this happens to support some kind of pest, and we see them in multitude of number that we don't usually handle them in the past years, and they are becoming more hard to handle. So another thing is the issue of the water use. The amount of water we now use in agriculture is becoming more. It's becoming more because the environment is hot. When you apply water, irrigate a farmland now, instead of the water to stay for a longer period of time, you find out that before you even leave the farm, everywhere is dry up, and making the quantity of the water that is available for plant use minimal. So it means so many things. It means reduction in the yield, which is reduction in income for farmers, and it also means the money we are spending to produce is increasing, because we have to find ways by which we want to make water available, because we use more water. In a place where you use 50 gallons, you find yourself you are using 100 gallons because of the altered environments we find ourselves. So the thing is so much enormous. The impact is so much felt, and I can say agriculture happens to be most of the sector that suffer most for climate change. Yeah.
If agriculture now is the sector that suffer most, how or what modalities should farmers take, to see that at least, of course, we can't change the climate, but at least we can curtail it, maybe by 1 or 2
So
weeks.
one thing we must understand is that the climate that is changing, the environment that is becoming warmer, the irregular rain pattern that is happening, it's just like the environment is acting back, is fighting back.
Wow.
Yeah. For every action there must be a reaction. So climate change is just like a results sheet for us of the short practices, of the bad practices we have been doing over years. So it's just like the environment is fighting back. So one thing we must have at the back of our mind is that all these counterproductive, all these bad practices we are doing that is destroying the environment, we must find a way to reduce them, if not stop them. That's the first aid to save ourselves. Because if you continue the way by which we do activity, by falling of trees, the all sustainable farming practices we do, all these things will continue. Because climate change, one of the factors that drive it is the issue of carbon emission.
Okay.
The issue of carbon emission, and we can find agriculture also contributing to climate change in some areas. So in those areas, we should find a way, have a rethink, how we want to fix this kind of thing and to make it more suitable for the environment.
Yeah.
So the issue of indiscriminate burning of bush, because when you burn bush, you are causing carbon emission, and when you emit carbon into the atmosphere, it will go into the ozone layer and the environment will become hotter. You will spoil the ozone layer and the environment will become hotter. So when the environment becomes hotter, agriculture will face a major problem.
Oh.
So these are the things we should look at. And farmers, we have so many ways by which we can participate in the fight against climate change.
All right.
Yeah. One of such is we must look at our processes.
Okay.
Our processes. What are those things that contribute to carbon emission? What are those things that contribute to desertification? What are those things that contribute to all these bad practices that contribute to climate change? For example, we find ourselves the habit of people who want to grow food crop, for example.
Yeah.
They want a clean sheet, a clean land, totally clean land. They cut all the trees, even the trees that are not causing obstruction. They want to cut down because they want to use everywhere.
Okay.
Now, when you do that, is a recipe for disaster, because trees serve us, serve the environment, put the environment into a kind of a balanced position. So when you cut trees indiscriminately, you are creating an imbalance in the environment, and when that happens, we all suffer for it. So we want to encourage farmers. One of the ways by which they can support the fight against climate change is by, if you don't want to maintain trees on your farm, plant trees around the perimeters of your farm.
Okay.
Because what trees does in our environment is so more enormous. One of them is carbon capturing. All this carbon we are saying is causing problem for us, going to the ozone layer and causing global warming. It's what the plant use to produce. Yeah, in their photosynthesis something. They will capture carbon in the environment and give us oxygen. They make oxygen available in the environment, calm the environment, serve as a windbreaker. Yes. And help us capture that carbon that is causing problem. Yeah. Because one of the major drivers of climate change is carbon. So when we plant trees around the farm, we are fighting climate change, and also we are going to be gaining a whole lot of things from trees being on our farm, because they will serve as windbreakers. Yeah. And they also help in hosting pollinators, bringing pollinators around, which will help us, and we achieve a bumper harvest. Another thing is, we should look at the way by which we do our tillage. Okay. Now, apart from trees being a source of carbon capturing, the store or the warehouse for carbon in the earth is the sea and the soil. Okay. Now, when you disturb the soil too much, disturb the soil too much, you know, the soil also stores carbon. But when you disturb it too much in the process of tillage, the carbon in the soil will leave, and they will be in the environment. They will go to the ozone layer and they will cause problem for us. Wow. So what we encourage farmers to do is that if you cannot practice no tillage, please practice minimal tillage.
Can you explain to us low tillage and minimal tillage?
Tillage. Okay.
when we come back from the break. Yes, we're going on a break. When we come back, he will tell us more about all he's telling us about climate resistance. What modalities we can put in place to curtail the danger we are encountering now. Stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Before we went on the break, we're actually telling us about how farmers contribute to fight against climate change to achieve bumper harvest. And our guest here, Mr. Lawal, has elaborated a lot. And you know, the joyful part of it is that he is telling us the better way. Now, we do not need to lament over what has happened now. Rather, let's look for the solutions. And before we cut him, he was actually telling us how important farmers should leave some plants on the field so that it will help also protect us and protect the environment and protect even the soil. So you were saying?
Yeah, so another way I was talking about is the issue of tillage.
Tillage, yes.
Yeah, so tillage has been found to be one of the source that carbon leave the soil.
Okay.
If you do tillage too much,
okay,
you find out that so many carbon in the soil will leave to the atmosphere, okay, and they will contribute to climate change and global warming.
Okay.
So what is now advised now is that farmers should practice minimal tillage, okay, if at all they cannot do no tillage at all. Okay. There are some crops that don't need secondary tillage. Okay. Like maize now. Mm. For you to cultivate maize, you don't necessarily need to make ridges. Okay. Now, what you need to do to cultivate maize is to plow and harrow. When you plow and harrow, the soil is okay. You can do your maize. Okay. But when you plow, you harrow, then you ridge again. That is like stage of disturbing the soil. So you are allowing more carbon into the environment, and this is contributing to global warming and climate change. Okay. So if you want to cultivate maize, soya bean, all these crops that are not tuber, you don't need to make ridges. Okay. Especially in large farms that will use combine harvester to harvest. Okay. If you even put ridges on your farm, you cannot use a combine harvester. So just leave it at that. After plowing and harrowing, plant your maize. It's only when you want to do crops like cassava and yam, you need ridges and mounds. And even in some cases, in some southern part of the country where the soil is very, very deep and soft, they do plant cassava on flat soil. Wow. Yes, and it will do well. Okay, if they can penetrate. Yeah, it can penetrate through if the soil is very deep and very, very soft. So those are the things. Another thing why the farmer can use to help us fight the issue of climate change is to find alternative to soil to farm power. So if you've been using diesel engine, petrol engine on your farm to pump water, to do some farming activity, and you have access to solar power, please kindly use solar power, because the combustion of the engine, all the smoke that results from cars, generating sets, pumping machine, also contribute, because they release this carbon into the environment and they contribute to global warming. So if you are able to cut down on those, it will also help us. So, and farmers should also use chemicals in moderation. Okay. Yeah, when we use chemicals in moderation, because some of these chemicals also contain some nitrogenous compound. So they also have a kind of way to contribute to all this climate change we are facing. So use everything in moderation. Another way by which farmer can help us in this climate change of a thing is to practice a system we call agroforestry. Farmers should imbibe the practice, the system of doing agroforestry, planting tree together with their food crop.
Okay.
Because see, anything we do now, if we want to say the truth to ourselves, tree,
Yeah.
in the fight against climate change is at the center point.
Okay.
Is at the center point. We must cut less and plant more trees if we want to win this war. So farmers should imbibe, plant trees, combination with your crop. Practice agroforestry. It is good for the environment. It will calm the environment. You will notice in an environment you find trees. Those kind of environments are usually cooler, right?
They're cheap, yes.
And what we are facing now is global warming. Everywhere is warming up.
Yes.
Because we are suffering for lack of trees around now. Trees are like lungs to human beings. They are like lungs to the heart. When you cut off trees, you are cutting off the lungs of the heart. It is through the trees the heart breathes. So those are the ways by which our farmers can contribute to climate change. So there are so many ways farmers can also build adaptation. Because it's a problem, you have to adapt. Build adaptation and build resiliency. I don't think you want us to talk about that one. No?
Let's talk.
Okay. So having highlighted some of the ways by which farmers can join in the fight against climate change, we should also notice that it is also important because it's a problem, it's a present problem. We have to find a way we want to survive.
Yes.
And to continue with our farming production.
Yes.
So one of the ways by which farmers should look into for them to build adaptation in this present situation
Most
is
especially for resilience crops.
Yeah. So is to make sure they use drought-resistant crops.
Okay.
Because we find out that there are a whole lot of drought going all around, delayed rain, irregular rain. So in that kind of situation, look out for drought-resistant variety and plant on your farm. It will help you to save some loss. Another thing is farmers should imbibe the culture of crop rotation.
Okay.
Yeah, it builds the soil and it also it helps us to fight pests. So another thing is the era of depending solely on rain is going now because of climate change.
Yes.
So farmers are also advised to look towards a sustainable way of irrigating their farm. Whether you want to store water, harvest rainwater and you use during the dry season, or you want to get underground water for you to be using borehole or something. The most important thing is that irrigation, because it will be very hard for you to produce bumper and get bumper harvest without irrigation these days. Everywhere is becoming hot. You have to feed the crop with water. So irrigation is another thing. Another thing for people that have the money is to go into greenhouses.
Greenhouses.
Greenhouses. So because when you use greenhouses, it's like you are bringing a kind of shade, protecting excessive heat, excessive sunshine, pests, and so other things. Is a very, very marvelous way by which you can use to adapt in this kind of situation. So those are the ways farmers can use to build resiliency and to build adaptation.
Thank you so much. He has said it all. Let's all put our hands together to see that we eradicate this by planting seeds, by planting, he said planting trees and food on the same land, so that it can help resist and it can help curtail all these problems. Thank you so much, Mr. Lau.
Always my pleasure.
Thank you so much for finding time here, and thank you for always ready to come here and enlighten us.
Always my pleasure.
All right, thank you so much for being part of the program. This is where you get more information about everything surrounding agriculture, surrounding crops, surrounding even the climate itself. And if you want to know more, I urge you to continue to watch our programs, follow us on our YouTube account, and call on us. We're always ready, and we're going to give you the results you need. I am Hilda Homsel Fatwam saying, take good care of yourself and let's contribute to food security. Bye for now and stay good.